Oh, no. Hey, everybody. How you doing? Man, I was just grooving to little Al Green. Yeah, I tell you. Um, there's some things you look back in your past, and when I was a ward of the state, I was at a home for children, and it
Okay.
was the
Uh,
best experience I ever had. I mean, culturally, couldn't replace it. Anyway, how are you doing? It's Monday, everybody. Greetings to one and all. Thank you, moderators, all of you beautiful people, and all the rest of us travelers. We are indeed travelers. Many of us are seekers, many of us are observers, many of us are all of the above, and then some more. So it's just an honor to have you here. Hello, DuPage Trading Post. How are you doing? Other stories. Hello, Lynn. Good to see you. Jules. Hello. Eye of the Maelstrom. Peace, Bree. Good love. Hello. Nina the Mystic. Hey, I owe you an email. Fun guy. How you doing? Susie Q. How are you doing? Peace, my dear. B3, John Price, Lost in Space. I think that's Provoke. Love. Yeah, I can dig that. Emperor Rex, how are you doing? Good to see ya. Hillard, hello. David Castle, how are you doing? Jill Jarrett, dancing on waves. Man, now that invokes a far out image. Dig that one. Rocky Mountain High, how you doing? Have another toke. Beloved abstract, good. Hello, Pamela. Good to see you. James, good to see you. Just so many. Is that Machia? Monday? Machina? I think I said that right. Lori, hello. How are you doing? Greetings. Loretta. I always hear the Beatles when I think of your name. Oh nine, good to see you. And Paul from Newcastle, hello. So hope you had a great Saturday and Sunday. Uh, I did. I had a far out time. Uh, you know, I think I heard this once, and this was Joe versus the volcano. And it's the scene where Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks are out on the ocean, and they're on the big trunks that, and if those of you who've seen the movie know what I mean. Um, and Meg Ryan said something that was a great line in that movie. She said her dad told her most people walk around in a state of complete numbness, that they've lost their ability to live in a state of wonder. And the few that find their place in that state of wonder are the lucky few that truly know what life is about. So I hope that your life is in a constant state of wonder. Um, it's sad when we become so we complain about the mundane. We complain about a routine, but actually, remember, it's only for a short time. Your visit here in the big perspective of things is a short time. So, anyway, favor be with us all. Just speaking favor, great favor, loving favor, favor that meets you going in, favor that meets you going out. Um, be upon us all, nothing missing, nothing broken. Trying to get really through. I got a good program here because it's one that atypifies the fact that reality, this reality, the one that every one of us are jacked into, is a reality of illusion. And the illusion is so intense that it's very difficult to figure out which is the red pill, which is the blue pill. And the number 666, it's one of those things that, man, everybody knows or has heard of 666. Many may not know what it means, but the general vibe is that it's a negative thing. And we're going to learn today how one man's delusion becomes, how shall we say, humanity's illusion. So let's just get into that. I had fun putting this together because, it's a topic that I've known a lot about in my days. I tutored under a guy by the name of Hilton Sutton. Hilton was probably one of the more well-versed, learned individuals in the book of Revelation. And I come out of a Judeo-Christian, the Abrahamic spell, um, got rid of that God spell, but this was one that, it's the best thing that was ever invented because this invokes fear. Fear invokes compliance. Compliance invokes that you'll eventually worship anything. And in this one, this is the fear because this is the mark of the beast, which is not quite right, but we're going to discover that. 666 all around. By the way, I want us to all put out positive thoughts. This uplift this individual. She's a sister of one of our community members, Josh, and we're just going to lift up Rebecca. Rebecca, I just speak peace to your life, and I speak calmness. And we just surround you with that. And I do believe you are the victor and will always be victorious. So anyway, um, that's how we do it. Eventually, folks, I noticed that Brian is working on practicing the group with telepathy. It's something we'll get into as well, but it's something that we'll do this from approach, I think, of a round table and really get into this. All right, so let's move along. The whole thing about 666 is that it is programming. That's all it is. There's no real substance behind it. And is with most programming is done not seen. Think about that. So 666, we're going to learn that everything today is barcoded. If you go to, any of the checkouts, self-checkouts, you know the routine. Scan the barcode. And there are a lot of theories that go with this, but I think it's more important that let's look at where this supposedly originated from. And we're going to see how it progressed and how today it is part of the code. This came from Revelations 13:18. And again, you have to decide, excuse me, which version you want to believe. It's up to you. It says that here is wisdom. Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Now, people say, I see, that's 666, 666. And we're going to find out that that's not quite correct. But anyway, the number of 666 is, and that is the number rather than the three separate sixes. It has always been an enigma and has always been used to try to portray that we're living in the last days. Folks, this last days crap is, it's a program. It's vaporware. Once you perceive and tear the veil, there's no fear. There's none of this Armageddon crap. And any of it that materializes is a self-inflicted wound of humanity to humanity. There have been all sorts of formulations on how to make that 666 fit some contemporary figure, and that ought to have given us some indication that there's something wrong here with the methodology when it continually gives a wrong answer. If you were to do this in the lab, you chunk it out. Say it's bad science. You can't replicate the experiment. And when you can't replicate a theory, an experiment, a hypothesis, you got problems, Jack. We see 666 is the number of the beast and that the beast is a man. So who is this man? All attempts to make him a modern person have failed. For hundreds of years, men have been trying to identify the beast as someone of this time. Mussolini, Hitler, Pope Leo X, Napoleon, Lenin, Stalin, Henry Kissinger, Mikhail Gorbachev, Ronald Reagan, Bill Gates, even Barack Obama have been identified, even now Donald Trump, at one time or another as the beast. Newspaper eschatologists tried to find the meaning to the book of Revelation in current events. The lunacy is, first of all, that we buy into this thing that we can, something that was supposedly written 2,000 years ago, that no one has any copy, no one sees the original. But don't go against that. And a rational, cognitive, reasonable thinking mind would say it's lunacy to try to say something that you don't even know where it was written because you never saw an original. There are no witnesses. So it's at best a theory. You got problems. So today there are phenomena that we look all around within the universal barcode. The numbers 666 appear. You have what they call 2 guards and 1 tower. We'll get into that. Frederick Farr, in his book on early Christianity, stated that what is necessary to find is a relevant solution to the number 666 is to find something that fits the context of the book of Revelation. We need to consider some important facts about what Revelation is saying. We must look at the time indicator. Always amazed me in my Bible classes when you ask this question of the so-called learned theologians, that how many exemptions suddenly arise. This is one of them. We must look at the time indicator near, shortly, and quickly. And we see in Revelation chapter 11, which states the temple was still standing. John is told to go and measure the temple. We know the temple was destroyed in 70 AD. Who destroyed the temple? Who was it? I'll see how many people really know their history later when I look in the chat room. So the time indicators in the book of Revelation tells us that the events of the book itself were to take place within that particular time period prior to the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. So when you start looking at the way that it's actually supposedly written, what I don't understand is how this cat wrote in perfect Greek. He was a fisherman. How do fishermen suddenly write in perfect Greek? By the way, it's a lost language. I don't know. We all know the number 666, but interestingly, some ancient manuscripts of the Bible have 666 and some manuscripts have 616. Excuse me. If you'll look in Revelation 13:18, and if you have a marginal reference Bible, you'll notice that there is a variant on the number 666. Some manuscripts say 616. Well, that's a whole change up. And that's because in Hebrew, it can be Nero, Kaiser, or Neron, Kaiser, and that final N in Hebrew is worth 50 points. Those of you who study gematria, you know. If you spell Nero Caesar's name in Latin, it comes up to not 666, 616. So apparently what's happening is some scribe in the earliest centuries began to change the value from 666 to 616 because the people knew Latin. It would make the computation correct and identify Nero. But people outside of the original sphere of early Christian Jewish background would not be able to compute with the Hebrew numbers. They would have been reading the scriptures in Latin. So either way, the early church viewed Nero Caesar as being the 666 candidate. Makes sense. I mean, Nero was a partier. That dude knew how to throw a party. He was also crazy, but hey, never doubt the stimulation of eccentricity. 616. Now, I found this one really interesting. So this is from some of the older manuscripts, right? That add the value of 616. So this is how it's broke out. The digits 616 also add up to 13. Also, 1 is the number of God, while 6 is the number of humans, Adam and Eve, on the 6th day. Two different events there, by the way. Adam and Eve was not created on the 6th day, but anyway, Satan is a spirit. Well, we know that this is bull. Satan doesn't exist. Satan is merely a pronoun of something that is your adversary. Many of us, we're our own worst adversaries. We're our own worst Satan. But in any case, this is part of the programming, because you got to have the antithesis. If you don't have the antithesis, no religion, no community, no hierarchy stands. That's another show. So 6 is the Antichrist. 1 equals Satan, who declares himself God. Never have that, but anyway. And then 6 would be the false prophet. And so here you get 13. 616. You decide. So here is the way that many put the values of Nero. But again, there is an N that's missing, which would impact, and I am not into gematria. I think it's fascinating. The problem I have with gematria is its origins, but that's just me. It's a code. See, I can see the code. Inherently inside, I know, looking at that this is code. Isn't that weird? I think we all do, in fact. So something's missing here. Because, this is the modern day representation of Satan. Well, all right. We know where Satan, what that word. So it's only within the Abrahamic religions that, and we know who did it. It was Jerome. He admitted to it. Completely altered this. So anyway, today, this is firmly ingrained in Western culture, probably culture all over the world. So if it's already come to pass where the Revelator John was writing not about some future time, his time, then what are we dealing with? It's an interesting question. And if the true number is 616, so do we have something here of different associated values with a perceived personification of an illusional deity? It's a script within a code. That's all this is. And here is you can see what they call the pillars. And within this is universal. Some say that this is what, if you want to talk about modern times, and that's becomes, very subjective, but nevertheless, someone bought into this. And if someone bought into it, then what is going on here? We're going to really get into this. I'm going to be showing you how much this 666 is really ingrained in. I told my wife this yesterday. She just looked at me and, gave me a big hug. And the whole thing of this plane of reality is based upon one thing and one thing only: materialism. It's what it is. And no matter what your point of view, no matter how you come at the subject, it's still materialism. This is what this plane of reality is. And when you have a plane that's built, all religions are built upon materialism. There is no real spiritual religion out there. It's all based on materialism. And if you want to challenge me on that, I'm up for the debate. I have yet to find any religion that is truly spiritual. None. Because they're all based on materialism. What would God have need for gold? What would God have need for a throne? I mean, we can go on and on and on. It's materialism, baby. And that's the stickiness that keeps us stuck here. And then you have the whole fear factor. And what happens is that when you become so fear-minded, your mind is no longer functioning. It's bound by fear. And as one fear abates, you will replace it with another fear. And this one here is good because this is true mind coitus here. This really jacks with you because we're dealing with, again, you can't have God exist without its antithesis. It has to have the opposite. There's no need for the religion if there isn't. In our world today, this is what we identify with the number of the beast, which is associated with Satan, which is then associated with Lucifer. Now, I'll tell you, I don't believe Lucifer exists, but I wish I wish that spirit did. I considered it a high honor to be able to sit down and to have a conversation, have a cup of tea with exactly what Lucifer is. Has to be one of the most fascinating spirits in this realm. All of us are programmed to believe in something, no matter how mundane it might be. It's just how it is. And 666 is everywhere. There is something here that is either what I call spiritual biology, because within this matrix, this code, there are trigger points that naturally, psychically happen to each individual. I don't care if you think that you're some kind of Rambo, you're skinny, you will fall to these beliefs. And once they get hooked in, it's like getting a tapeworm out. But all around us, in what we call the modern age of film, actually the modern age of programming, we're going to find it's everywhere. And people laugh. But yet the messaging, the symbology is everywhere. Beelzebub is worshiped more than Yahweh. Now, I know that'll piss some people off, but you have to understand the programming. The reason why young people love idols, to chase after, the newest singer, band, movie star. It's something that we all go through, is that we're taught to worship. And if we don't have a deity to worship at, we will elevate those among us to that status. And they carry something with them. The number 666. It's everywhere. Coincidence? No. The 3 sixes. Stop and think about this. Our programming was rewrote about the 12th century. Something happened. There's good evidence that it may have also been more recent, another schism. But without the devil, man is free to experience what materialism is all about. But when you have ignorance that is worshiped and in fact taught, it's taught in every religion. You're only to read the book. And if you're going to read something outside the book, it has to be containing within the book of what the book says. It's a form of brainwashing. And so man is amazing how once we get a hold of something, we are a creative bunch. All of this is merely the fantasies, probably masturbatory fantasies, of some jack-off in some monastery. And I'm literally being very candid with you. There's so much phallic symbols into this. You can tell, and I use that word masturbation, but that's one of those key words that you can't talk about that. But yet, virtually all of the so-called devil crap all has to do with sexual perversion. Not the fact that they took it out of the original book, because the original guy had the same problem. Modern beliefs are from the time of ignorance of yesterday, but yet they influence us today. Even today in the metaphysical community, in the enlightened community, they talk about being weighed down. This is where that originates from. Those are demons. And the soul is weighed down. And of course, the saints mourn because this soul is weighed down. Weird. Most are gullible. They believe this is real. The whole thing about an angelic battle is most likely from the roots of an alien war that humans witnessed, that was right here on this planet. One side or the other won, or they called it a draw, who knows? But there is so much ingrained into this. And basically, you could say that all spirits in this realm, they're programmed. So when you get in, you're given a code, your genetic code. It's a program. I'm beginning to believe that we adapt to the program. And when it comes to this phenomenon of 666, man is infatuated with it. And many don't believe that it's evil at all, just the opposite. We love marking our bodies with what could only be described as something magical. There is a language that I am convinced that goes with this, but we don't know it. Maybe there is someone out there who knows, but I do know this, these are octaves as well. And if you could learn to replicate the octaves at the same time, I believe that potentially that it opens a spiritual portal. But that's just me. But is it just me? You see, it's a knowledge that many don't know, but instinctively are familiar with. If we could find the octaves, and particularly if we were in a large group, you wouldn't need to have the mark on you. You would just need the tones. But they're everywhere. For you ladies that dating, you may know this. This is called the 666 rule. Means your ideal mate should be at least 6 feet tall, should have a penis at least 6 inches, and have a six-figure income. You decide for yourself. So is 666 evil, good? Maybe it might be the most luckiest number you can actually be associated with. Steve Jobs believed that. Absolutely. So let's take a look and see why it's everywhere. Walt Disney, we know, was an occultist. I did a show on him a couple of years, 3 years ago, but I want you to start realizing it's everywhere, folks. The Google logo is 666. The Adobe logo is 666. You see, the divine king sign, which is 666, is exactly the logo of Google Chrome. You know, we're going to find out about www, how these are integrated. CERN, 666. Lucas, 666. CBS really stands for the all-seeing eye. I don't know if you know that. www dot. Yo, yo, yo. Va, va. I think it's actually va, va, va. 666. Now, I wonder if the ancient Hebrews, I'm convinced they were. Moshe the magician, the Egyptians knew this, and the Egyptians got this knowledge from Mesopotamia. Samaritans. So if you go to Taco Bell, you are fully ingesting 666. And there it is. You can see the 3 6s. Very prominent. You'll never look at the Taco Bell logo again and not see the 3 6s staring right at you. How about Pepsi? Pepsi did a campaign a couple of years ago with Raw, the all-seeing eye. Have another sip, my friend. Now, this is really getting weird. If you begin to look at all of these, the Google Mail, Facebook, many of the Google products that go in there, again, the divine king sign, the eye of providence, the pyramid capstone, these are all embedded into 666, baby. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know. How do they do that? See? Yeah. Yeah. Stop and take a peek at this. Each and every one of these companies, their logos, all deal with either 666, the serpent, Beelzebub, everywhere, everywhere. How many of you have been able to spot the one here of 666 of Kool-Aid? Notice the two eyes and the nose. I'll help you out. 666. General Electric, 666. There's a lot, if you want to call this the occult, which just is hidden knowledge, fine. If you want to talk about that this is how the spell works in this materialism, and it is, we're in a materialism. This is what this reality is based. The 666 and all its different renditions. Microsoft's logo, 666. Dreamcast. The masters, they knew. Here you can see again how the 666 plays prominent role in so many different aspects. Our money. Isn't it interesting? Corona equals 66. From the Pope to drinking, movies, comic books, people who believe in the angels, 666. Most of us associate it with the Antichrist. But what's so interesting is that even when you begin to look at this case would be the Star of David, 666. So where is the mark of the beast? This company here, the guy put every one, this was up till 2015. It's everywhere. You carry it, you can't buy or sell without that mark. Isn't that odd? It's already implemented. We're already used to it. We've already adapted to it. We know where it comes into things of MK Ultra. 666. They have programs called the Mark of the Beast. Values. Everything with our currency. How about your Kleenex? How about your cereal? How about your taco? And there you can see the 3 6s. Homer knew. It's replete throughout the Simpsons series. June 6, 2006. How the numbers and the symbols came up. One, it's an authoritative summary of faith or doctrine, is a creed, something that stands for or suggests something else by reason of relationship, association, convention, or accidental resemblance, especially a visible sign of something invisible. You see, you can actually communicate this power, not even having to speak a word. An arbitrary or conventional sign used in writing or painting relating to a particular field to represent operations, quantities, elements, relations, or quantities. The Beatles. There's a lot of stories about the music of the Beatles. If you go back and listen to A Hard Day's Night, the album, you might begin to look at a different perspective. You'll see why it became the movement, the tidal wave that it was. Again, replete. Hey, folks, it is everywhere. Fox News, 666. The National Lottery prominently displayed 666. It's not 777, folks. It's 666. They were telling the people that played this one. Time Warner, All CNI with the 666. Cadbury, 666. Coca-Cola, 666. Google, 666. Procter & Gamble, 666. The Trilateral Commission, 666. The AMA, 666. And notice the serpent again, the caduceus. Why is it that the serpent heals? Thought the serpent was the bad one. Radiant physics. CERN. And the thing about CERN is that it really gets into some really interesting things. We all know that CERN was dedicated to Shiva. There's her statue. There was a huge ceremony when they anointed her, or I guess when they coronated CERN, opening it up for what its true purpose was. If you look at some of go back and look at the presentation, bizarre, very bizarre. These are the demonical beings of that region. Very strange. How everything is programmed. Everything. Starting from when we are just a little one. Have you checked your computer? See what your file is, 666. You all have one. Steve Jobs was so well convinced that he knew that, look what he priced the first Apple. That's how the first the Apple computers came. $666.66. And of course, we have references in the Old Testament where the 666 comes as well. And it's everywhere. Give me a second to get out of this. So I just found that when you look at this, the programming is everywhere. It's bizarre, folks. I mean, and it didn't take a whole lot of research to go out there and begin to put this together. So what is it that we're dealing with here? What is then, if this is not something spiritual, but has something to do with materialism, something to do on a level like that, what's happening? Are these basically vortices that are opening up everywhere? Deep thoughts. You don't have to throw out anything. Listen, all we are just becoming we did a whole thing on sigils, and we're going to get back into sigils because the symbology here is deep, folks. As I was putting this together, it was like, I told my wife, I said, Lynn, I said, you know what? All right, Al, thanks a lot, buddy. And I showed her the presentation I just showed y'all. And she said, she says, we walk around thinking that we see, but we don't see anything. I mean, our subconscious is picking it up. The way that they craftily put that in there. And a form of brainwashing is by repetitive exposure. And if they're all doing it, what is up with that? I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because it's just like this whole thing. I'm doing another program on big pharma. And folks, I'm going to show you how this is not pharmacology. This is pure alchemy. This is alchemy on a level way up there. We're talking master wizard. We're talking the ability. And the thing about it is, as I'm looking into this program I'm putting together, AI is involved now. And our bodies are simply chains of DNA. And there is a chemical balance that we all are supposed to be at. Unfortunately, due to environmental, et cetera, most of us aren't. And when you start taking a prescription drug, no one looks and says, "Can I see um, the chemical structure of this drug, please?" Now, if you get it in boxes, and I'm getting one that I'll be using, I thought I had it right over here. It's really interesting because it's a chemical chain. And once it enters into your body, the alchemy begins. We read it about Sleeping Beauty, the eating of the apple. It's that same thing. And it can change us. It's why they want the whole world on, and that is when it becomes a religion. The pharmacology it is. I mean, you, it's big business. It's one of the biggest businesses. And once you get hooked on these drugs, I mean, I don't care if it's, high blood pressure, whatever. None of them cure you. They help you manage. And then that gets into a whole and then, now, wait a minute. Why do you want me to help manage when there's no cure here that you're giving me, but you want me to take this chemical compound? Because I know what chemical compounds can do. Psychedelics. We discovered that through pharmacology. It's amazing what those chemicals, when they're stacked and stretched in a particular way. Weird. But, that's fringe. Because the normalcy is that, well, you are to listen and obey and to comply. I mean, we're taught that almost from the very beginning. Which tells me that maybe our true state is that we're all wild childs. Some of us a little more wilder than the others. And maybe we have to come here, to experience the beatdown, and when we leave, we can say, woo, and good to be free, huh? Because everything around us seems to want to approach upon our sovereign divine freedom. Why do they want our soul? That's what I don't figure out. If there's not something to this, then why the hell all this rigmarole? I mean, they're putting a lot of energy, a lot of manifestation into all this. And then when you have to make the choice between red or blue, I don't want either one. Do I have to take a pill at all? That's the question. uh just quiet thoughts on a Monday afternoon. Oh boy. Folks, something's going on. I mean, it's a fact. Something is going on. And, you know, you can say what you want, but you just sit back and you go, that don't seem quite right. And then, when the not so quite rights continue to add up, you're going, well, that's just wrong. That's just wrong. And, and then again, I think, well, then you've really, have succumbed to the dualism, because if you remove the dualism of reality, well, there is no right or wrong. Um, One of the things that Lynn and I like to do on Sundays is basically it's kind of our time to just really kind of chat, and so I always bring up a subject matter that I said, let's think about this. And yesterday's thought, I said, so honey, let me ask you, and I'll ask everyone in the chat room. There's a few people in there. So is murder wrong? I'm going to wait to see if people will answer. Is murder wrong? Those of you in the chat room, Beloved Abstract, Robert V, Donna Bell, is murder wrong? And that's the question. Kirk Plain says yes. Okay, and that was initially my wife's position. Yeah, Al, if I could get the tithing back that I gave, woo, we'd have a party. All right, so let's say you're taking the position that murder is wrong, killing is wrong. All right, so we adapt that into our morals, and that becomes part of our programming. But here's the problem. So I am gathering, Robert, that you are a citizen of the United States and a citizen of a state, a resident, which makes you a citizen. So you do know in states that have capital punishment that when an inmate is executed, that on their death certificate, it is listed as a homicide. And the offending party is the state. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are the state. So what you're telling me then is that murder is wrong because it's taking of a life, but oh, wait a minute, there's an exception to this. Because we, the people, made it part of our laws that if you offend or do a certain heinous crime, then you have death as the outcome of that. But that's fine. That kind of murder is all right. And yet we also have the religions of the world where every one of their deities have in fact committed murder. So what's wrong or what's right here? See, critical thinking, but that's the problem. It shouldn't depend on the murder at all. It's murder. If the state is committing the murder because the citizens demanded that that be the law, each and every one of us then are guilty of murder. And you can try to say, well, no, my hands are clean. No, they're not. That's dualism. Now, what am I saying? It may just very well be in the larger scheme of things, it doesn't matter. War is another good one. Thank you, Gilbert. Well pointed. A nation goes to war. Human killing human. That's murder. But oh no, not if you're raising the flag and saying, oh, for our side. You see, folks, that is part of the conditioning, part of the programming. Anyway. And then my wife looked at me and she says, you know what? She says, you think way out there. And I said, no, hon, it's part of this process. It's part of getting yourself, unentangled from all this, because, do I really have to take the red pill or do I have to take the blue pill? Wait a minute, I don't want to take the pill at all. You um, and I'll just kind of wrap it up here. You see, that's the problem I have, folks, at where I'm at in my travels. It's why I can't worship another spirit. The thing that I found was that every god that I have seen is nothing but ego. All of them. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, it's all ego. And with an ego, we get into this dualism. And I said, that's the trap. I have stated this many times before, that I believe that there is an intelligence that is so above even the construct of a creator source. It is above that. And I really believe the natural state of whatever that is indifference. It just is. It's when we get wrapped up into taking a position, right, wrong, hot, cold, up, down, that it seems like we become the serpent eating its tail. I don't know. All right, folks. So this has been fun. Folks, all we're doing, we have a great hour that we come here and we get to pontificate with one another. And yeah, I'm driving the bus, but I love the discussion. I can see it in the chat room. Y'all are such an enlightened group. It's really just a pleasure. I mean, because you can sit and you can converse and you can have, the most abstract idea, and yet you can find that there is a bond or a commonality that would relate to something that we've all experienced. Thank you, Golden Eyes. Gods, thank you. So just think about it. The 666. I am convinced, and I'll tell you, that's why I really miss so much of the discussions that with Claudia, is that if you look at physics and you begin to break this down, so I know that the ancient Hebrews, they could orientate these sounds and they could open up physical portals. Many say that that's where Moses got the utensils that were in the Holy of the Holies. He literally opened up a portal and let something in. But I'm convinced as we continue to evolve here as a group and the different other side channels, Brian's and Lucky, I want to say something about Lucky Stone. Go and check his channel out, guys. All of us need to go over there. I listen to he has great walks. It's a great time of contemplation of thought. And the guy is a very deep thinker. It's really unfortunate, we all are, to have such deep thinking minds. And there are many of us here. We all have something to add, something to contribute. And this is just one small piece. I saw it and it's there. There's something tangible to this. Exactly what it is, I have my ideas. I'm sure you have yours. All right, folks. Well, love one another. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Um, interesting. Yeah, it really is. Hey, 7P, good to see you. Thanks, Robert. Yeah, Lucky Stone is really a cool man. I mean, he's a cool dude, folks. I mean, right critical thinker. Yeah, Pamela. That's absolutely the fact. Yep. Hey, Gnostic, what is that, centrist? I can't see that as it went by flying. Python, good to see you. And Peter, hello. Cosmic Gypsy. Man, it's so good to see all of y'all. Well, thank you. Honored to be amongst all of y'all. And we'll get together tomorrow with Miss Trina. And we may bring this back up. I know her and Brian were talking about symbolism. And boy, isn't it just so true? I tell you, I wish I was the guy with the x-ray eyes, I'm telling you, real quick. So we taped a program and, dealing with spirits that are being shown on camera that exhibit tremendous kinetic energy. And I looked over at Lynn and I said, "Hun, we're going to develop a camera or a sensor that," I said, "where we're going to be able to pick up this other life. It's here. They walk among us. They sleep among us. They are here. And I'm not convinced they're all human, but I know we're going to be able to break that barrier. And when we do, I think mankind's going to freak out because we're going to suddenly realize that this planet is a living organism and it attracts living organisms. And spirits are energy. And we are living organisms, even if we're of the ether. All right, folks. Appreciate it. Much love to you. And we'll see you tomorrow. All right. Bye-bye.